Good morning to you, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome back to this episode of the Inter-University Debates. Today, I'm your guest, Douglas Drekonen, and we are discussing 30 years of the 1995 Constitution, but also putting into context the credibility and fairness of the previous elections from 1961 to date. Today, I'm hosting students from Ankole Western University under the Hope Initiative program, and they fall under the Hope Initiative Club of Ankole Western University. So in no particular order, allow me go ahead and introduce my guests, but also give them a chance to say hello before we get into the nitty-gritties of the conversation. I'll begin from my immediate right. I will go ahead and also give him a chance to say hello. You're most welcome, Barije Kenneth.
Thank you, Mr. Victor.
Drake.
Drake.
Yes, thank you very much, Kenneth. We're very happy to have you here. Right next to Kenneth, we are joined by Komujuni Gloria. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drake. I'm very happy to be here, and I welcome our esteemed viewers.
Thank you. Don't mind, just call me Drake. Don't call me Mister. Yeah, okay. Just let's have it simple. Okay. Just call me Drake, and we can. It's verified. Right next to Miss Gloria, we're joined by Mr. Namara Victor. Most welcome.
Yes, thank you, Drake.
Thank you. Good morning. Last but not least, we are joined by Mr. Albert Tujune. Right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm humbled to be here, and I'm very happy for having been hosted, and we are glad to represent our university, Ankole Western. Yeah, from Kagohe, Shema district.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's before we get into the conversation, my dear guests, allow me give you context. Today we are looking at two sides of the conversation. One, the Constitution at 30. But then two, the credibility and fairness of the previous elections from 1961. Allow me to start with the credibility and fairness of the previous elections. Uganda has had elections from 1961 to date. But my keen focus lies from the 1995 Constitution, which of course by 8th of October, the Constitution will be making 30 years. And to that effect, under the 1995 Constitution, we have had at least 6 elections from its inception. And that informs our conversation today, looking at the Constitution at 30, but also looking at the credibility and fairness of the elections that have been under the 1995 Constitution, but also other constitutions. That is notably the 1962 Independence Constitution, the 1966 Interim Constitution or Pigeonhole Constitution, the 1967 Constitution that preceded the 1966 Constitution, and then currently the 1995 Constitution, which of course still runs up to date. So allow me begin the conversation with Namara, and of course anyone else I'm also going to ask you, so randomly. Victor, let's get a historical perspective, but in you giving us a historical perspective, the question that is going to fall to you is the credibility of the past elections from 1961 to date. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Drake, for that wonderful question. My view on the credibility on the Uganda's election that we have held from the 1961 general election, I may say that the elections that we have held in Uganda, they have just come with some changes, and I may say that it is not a positive change at times. For example, if we talk about the 1961 general election, this happened it was held on 23rd March 1961, and this was aiming at getting the representatives, the logical representatives that were set and to prepare Uganda for her independence by then. So that elections, though we had an election in 1961, but it was aiming to have these regional representatives. I don't think that Ugandans, most of them, they involved themselves in that elections or they participated in that election. And another thing is that in that very elections, most of we saw the Uganda boycotting, where we saw the KY, Kabaka Yeka movement boycotting the results. in fear of losing their part of land and whatever. So from there and then, I think the credibility of the 1961 election up to date, we have just seen our elections as a country, we have just seen our electoral processes coming into the way how I can say that we are, if I'm say that even up to date, our elections are becoming more of violent. Since then, we saw the Uganda boycotting, but even up to date, we are seeing that some of the political parties boycotting or disagreeing with the results. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get to you, Komujuni. From the conversation that my brother Victor has laid down in the context, it's quite imperative that our focus goes to the 1961 election as we walk the journey to date. And his submission relied on the fact that the 1961 elections had, in terms of participation, there was minimum participation, and two, there was regional representation, that the regional representation often gave a particular region leeway. So my follow-up question to you would be, how would you assess the credibility of those first elections that happened in 1961? Did it lay a foundation, or was it betrayal to democracy?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Drake. First of all, credibility. What do we understand when they say something is credible? Something to be termed as credible must be free and fair. And fairness and freedom comes up with credibility. So in the first place, the 1961 elections were boycotted. And for anything to be considered credible must have inclusivity. In this case, I won't say the 1961 elections were credible because the heart of the Uganda, which we call the Buganda kingdom, which is known that it is the biggest kingdom in the country that we have, boycotted the election. So I won't come up and say it was credible. Instead, that very election, the results weren't a united national mandate, but instead it was a fractured beginning that has set a stage to the political divisions we are still facing right now in Uganda's politics. So literally, I would not say they were credible elections.
So it is your assertion that the 1961 elections laid a foundation for a fractured democracy. Allow me to have a follow-up. So how does the 1961 general election, from your submission, lay the foundation for the fracture that we're experiencing in our democracy today? In just a minute.
Thank you very much. In the first place, it was the first time for Uganda to have an election, and that very election was boycotted by the Uganda. We saw all that happened in that very election. So since then, it has come to the people, to the country, and up to date, Uganda's politics has faced the same challenges where some people are not even participating. Inclusivity has improved. I cannot say inclusivity has not improved. It has improved, but it is not as it has to be, because in the beginning, it was fractured.
Thank you. Let me get to you, Albert.
Yes.
It is the assertion of Gloria that the 1961 elections was, in her own words, she says, wasn't a united national mandate because it had regional representation, and two, it laid the foundation of a fractured democracy. Now, my question to you is, in relation to the young democracy that we are as a country, we are barely 70 years old, and the foundation of our democracy, in our own words, were fractured from the onset of the first elections that we had as a country. Does the 1961 elections, therefore, in what ways does it influence and affect our democracy today?
Yes, thank you, sir. And what I can say, indeed, what this has said, automatically it is true. Because once you see, when the 1961 elections were being organized, they were just organized. The purpose, the major aim was to prepare Uganda to have its own rule. But once you see the people who majorly participated in it, most of them were not the true Ugandans. And the elections majorly were influenced by the British. So that one meant that since then, since the British government, the British people favored only their own government, it made that act that even with the coming elections, we should even still have an influence. And that one has meant that even with the current elections, we still having that influence of the European people, the British. They are still dominating our elections. That's why at times we may say we are independent by the what? By the words. As I can say, now you as an individual, you cannot stand there and do whatever you wish because you are in your own what? Country. Therefore, I may say that since those elections a bit and with almost like 90%, those elections were unfair. It has tempered the habit to continue with increased the multi-party systems, and you know the why multi-party systems are coming up, why we are having more parties. It was the influence of the 1961 elections when we had those parties which were fighting for what? For leadership, the KY, DP, and whatever. So our democracy, even up to now, I may say we are not all that democratic due to the 1961 elections, which termed all whatever we are seeing that is taking place up to now. It was due to 1961 elections. Thank you.
All right. Kenneth, I was just coming to you. Okay, make your submission.
There is a statement Mr. Albert said, and I wasn't comfortable with it, that the 1961 elections were 90% not free and fair. These elections, the record, when you compare all the past elections, to me, they are the most fair elections, free and fair, because these British, they gave a chance for every Ugandan to participate. But the Baganda, due to the fact that they were ignorant and due to the fact that it was their first time, it was the first election and they had their culture, they thought that maybe this thing of democracy, of independence, of voting for the president would maybe undermine or lower the powers of the Kabaka. So that is one of the reasons they didn't what? They didn't contest. But the British, on ground and on paper, they gave the full rights to participate. And more so, when we go ahead, the elections that were prepared by the Ugandans themselves, we see a lot of chaos. There is no election apart from 1961 election that there is no chaos or strikes or intimidation.
On that point, Kenneth, don't you think the 1961 elections didn't have those malpractices or the chaos, as you term it, due to the lack of civic engagement and participation of the Ugandans there?
Thank you, Rick. So should I also want to pose a question to you.
Okay, pause. You pause.
Yeah, I should.
But first respond to my question, then you pose me your question.
Yeah, I will respond in the way of posing a question.
Yes.
Is engaging in a thing mean forming a strike or bringing up chaos?
No, but you see, the idea of democracy is to have everyone engaged.
Yes.
They define democracy as power. It's
system of governance
by the people.
By the people
and for the people.
Yeah.
That's by Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So if it's a power of the people, by the people, and for the people,
Yes.
don't you then therefore need to have involvement of the mass majority who you're supposed to govern involved in the process?
I get.
And of course, the right to assembly, which of course enshrined in the 1995 Constitution, provides people the right to lawfully strike. It is provided for. So, did the 1961 election, was it fair in its own self? Because you have regional representation and you had a framework that was providing, because his assumption is 90% of it was illegal, but you're denying that. So let's have your response to that.
Okay. First of all, these British, they didn't deny anyone the chance. But due to the fact that the Baganda had their own reasons, it's like when you call us here for the debate, I think we are 25 universities. But like our university, I'm just assuming, decides not to come. But you have called us, you have given us everything, you have given us the motion and whatever. But we ourselves, with our own reasons, have decided not to come. So, is that free and fair? Oh,
it is free and fair because we
Yes.
have given you the option to decide.
So that was the case with the Uganda. The British, they gave them an option to do what? To vote. They allowed them a chance to vote. But themselves, due to the fact they were ignorant and excuse me, and they had their own reasons, they decided not to participate in such an election. So you don't see anything why we should term the 1961 elections unfair, due to the fact that these people with their own motives failed to participate.
All right. So on this panel, we have a gentleman who is agreeing that the 1961 elections were credible, free, and fair. The three of you agree that for you say the 1961 elections laid a foundation that led to a fractured democracy. So in your opinion, the elections weren't free and fair, right? You also hold the same opinion that the elections of 1961 wasn't free and fair. Similarly with you, Albert. But you have a response to him.
Yes, I wanted to say with 1961 elections, because if you had see the habit currently we are having, when you see the most top officials, they are appointed. Let us take back to the 1961 elections. The most people who were engaged in those elections were by the what? Appointment of the what? Of the British. So when you go into the critical analysis of that one, it meant that the Brits themselves, they had reasons why they had first choose their own representatives, and that those representatives will represent the what? The regions. They knew if they have chosen the fellow Africans, those people whom they are going to be leading, they will not do what? Oppose. In fact, me, I was very happy with the Uganda boycotting those what? Elections. The reason why they boycotted, they saw it that those elections were unfair. Okay. They were not fair.
All right.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Gloria and Victor. Putting into context from 1961 to 1966. In 1966, we see the Kabaka crisis. What happens? Of course, the army storms the palace, and we see the Kabaka going into exile. And in that period, they introduced the 1966 Pigeonhole Constitution, which was passed without a debate. Of course, that constitution introduced a one-party state. That means the abolishment of all other political parties.
Yes, party system.
Yes, and they only focused on UPC as the only party, which leads us to 1967, where we saw the abolition of kingdoms, but also still it still reinforced the one-party system. Now, fast forward, we are going to skip 1971 to 1979 because there Uganda was ruled by decrees and there was no election. Yes. The next election we experienced was in 1980. The 1980 election, some people termed it as one that was filled with a lot of violence. One people say it wasn't free, it wasn't fair. We saw the likes of the NRA then going into the bush on grounds that, you know what, we contest these results. Let me ask you this question to the both of you. I'll start with Gloria, then I'll go to you, Victor. To what extent have the historical experiences of disputed elections shaped Uganda's political culture from that context that I've given you?
Oh, thank you very much. From that election of the 1980, it is actually still in record that was the most open-ridged election in Uganda's history. Mm-hmm. And for that case, it led to, we saw Museveni going to the bush, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he went to the bush, and we've seen that since then, we've actually, after the Bush period, we've had only one party in Uganda's politics. And that scenario itself shaped this country in a way that someone who went to the bush and fought for what we have right now came back, and we saw them forming the 1995 constitution, favoring himself so that he could rule and lead the country to whatever extent he feels tired.
All right.
So it has come to a way that scenario that happened in the 1980 election has caused almost every political strain we are facing right now in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. From her submission, does the involvement of the army therefore inform our political state today? Because the 1980 elections, Uganda's history has seen the army being quite involved in the governance process. Still in relation to the question, to what extent do historical experiences of disputed elections shape Uganda's political culture today? Victor.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Drake. To respond to that question, the 1980 general elections, I may say that it was the most fraudulent election that we have ever had in this country, where we saw the militarization of the elections. And from that context, even today, we saw what happened in the 2021 general elections, and even in this NRM, the post-primaries for NRM, the militarization of the elections, whereby you see people carrying these lorries, carrying the army, the armed forces to go and intimidate people in the villages. And remember, for example, in my home district in Tungamo, we have some people even who fear to see the people carrying guns. And this mostly, it happens when we are just getting into the election process, or when we are just going into the time for the elections. And this has always intimidated people, and we have just always seen the government in power using the military to suppress other parties. For example, we have just seen other people or from other political parties, talk of NOP, talk of FDs, and many others being brutalized in the electoral process or in the electoral time. So the military or the engagement of the army in our elections has influenced our electoral process in a negative way, whereby most of the people have been captured during the election times or election processes, and even up to date. For example, these people were taken or captured in the 2021 elections. Until now, some of them, they are still in the prisons, and they have never even been taken to the courts of law to be tried, isn't it? So the engagement of the military in our politics really has shaped our electoral processes or our elections in a negative way. And I think even I can predict that even in the coming elections, the 2026, we are going to have more and more challenges with this militarization of army. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get to you, Kenneth, before I bring in Albert. I'm still interested in the 1980s elections and the influence that it has had or it's having in influencing our politics today. As Gloria and Victor have rightly put it, it has had, or our history has been anchored on those events and informs how we are governed today. Similar question will still flow to you, Kenneth, and you, Albert. How have our historical experiences influenced our political culture today?
Thank you, Drake. First of all, these 1980 elections, I agree with my colleagues. They were not free and fair. They were full of chaos. They were full of everything, as I may say. So, but there is one thing we shouldn't forget, that these elections forced the current president of Uganda, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to go to the bush, to start a war, claiming that these elections were not free and fair, that they were rigged. So in the first place, those elections, the party of the president, Uganda Patriotic Movement, managed to get, was it the third position? And in the second there was Paul Semogele.
DP.
Yeah, DP. So if it was Paul Semogele claiming that these elections were not free and fair and going to the bush, there it would be seen, okay, like it would be somehow credible. But this president decided to go to the bush, claiming that the elections were not fair and fair. He was in the third position. But also, I think to me, he used this chance. It became a coincidence for him to go to the bush because he had his own motives. And those own motives are the platform on which he stands on now to rule us unendingly. What do I mean here? First of all, after going to the bush, after gaining power in 1986, the things he fought for are the things we see now in elections. For example, militarization.
The things he fought against.
Yeah, the things he fought against are the ones he's bringing now. Militarization. Too much, okay, like staying along in power.
Overstaying power, militarization of politics, monetization of politics, vote rigging,
everything.
Ballot stuffing.
So I think we shouldn't again say that he went to the bush to fight for democracy, because we don't have democracy now in Uganda. Instead, he went to the bush to gain what? The presidential seat. After seeing that in elections, he was not going to do what?
To win through the ballot.
And I think it was not a good idea to gain a transition via war.
Okay. Interesting analysis. Albert, what are your thoughts?
Yes, according to me, I think the current politics we are having, they are influenced by the previous elections, that, as I had earlier said. And there is someone who said history repeats itself. What happened a long time ago, it will continue. And if you can see, when Museveni was going to the bush, and I think that was the guerrilla war, and by then he was fighting over Obote, and he was claiming that the elections that were held by then were unfair. And again, on the same note, for him, he was claiming that what was taking place during that period, they are the ones which were not good. However much he continued and went to the bush. So he captured Uganda using military. And if you would see the big people, the top people in power, they are still military commanders. And again, because he knew what happened here, take an example. You see the people who are in the army, the commanders, they are the people who are nearer to him. It means, what does that one imply? It will be very difficult if we Ugandans, if we cannot change our mind and we see what is taking place. It will be very difficult for us to have fair elections. So for the elections which we are having, which we may say that they are militarized, full of those cases, ballot stuffing, where people are not even to the extent at times these people who are coming. Take an example. You can imagine out of 100 and other people who picked the nomination form, the only 8 were nominated. So what does that one imply?
Okay.
Militarization of the what? Of the politics. People are feared, and the people in power being a military officer. So it means even Ugandans, and even you can see people who complained about that one. So the elections we are having currently was due to what happened in 1980.
The influence of our historical experiences.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now move fast forward. From 1980, we see an overthrow happening. 1985, in around August, Obote was overthrown by Tito Okello.
Yes.
So when that overthrow happened in August 1985, Tito Okello didn't rule the country for some time. He ruled, I think, barely months.
Yes.
Yeah, it was months.
Yes.
Because we saw Museveni march and take over power in January 26, 1986. And of course, when Museveni took over power, all of us remember, we've watched his famous speech in front of Parliament that, of course, is going to establish a democracy, and the problem of African leaders is those who overstay in power. Of course, he gave people the hope that he's going to make Uganda a better country. Of course, we're a better nation. We need to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know whether we are progressing or we are regressing. That's a conversation that you guys are here to help us unpack. 1996, we didn't have an election. It was an overthrow. Fast forward, we are supposed to have elections in 1980. Fast forward, we didn't have elections after the first 5 years. They went ahead and ruled, and then came up with the 1995 Constitution, and here we are. I just want us now to go to the history of 1995, looking at the elections that have happened under the 1995 Constitution, which informs the past 6 elections to date. And that is the conversation that I think is crucial for this debate. And let me start with you, Kenneth. Assessing our history from 1995 to date, looking at all the previous elections that have happened under this Constitution. The Constitution of 1995, in its preamble, it captured that considering our tumultuous history, Uganda ought to now, of course, the Constitution was to give Ugandans hope of a brighter and better future. And among the provisions in the Constitution, it captured for credible, free and fair elections. And the Electoral Commission was charged with the responsibility of conducting those elections. Your thoughts on the credibility of the elections that have happened under the 1995 Constitution?
Thank you, Drake. First of all, the 1995 Constitution was amended by the CA, Constituent Assembly. And this CA, it was during the period of the current president. So, to make things short, this Constitution was made in favor, it was made by the president.
Yeah.
That's to me. Being made by the president, what does it mean? It means that everything he placed under that Constitution was to favor him. For example, that's why you see in 2005, the Constitution was amended.
For a referendum, and it did away with term limits.
Yeah, term limits. In 2017, it was also amended, the age limit. Why is it so easy for a person to change a constitution of a country? Due to the fact that it was his constitution, that makes it easy for him to change it. And he will he will stay long in power because no hopes of him going. We still have him here the next 5 years. Even if he wants the coming more years, he will still be here. Nothing to do because the constitution is his. Whatever he wants to change, whatever he wishes to have is going to be amended. So we shouldn't, we have a constitution, but to me, in my own view, it's just a document. We have documents that it's a constitution, but it's not working to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gloria, the 1995 Constitution promised free and fair elections. 30 years later, has it delivered on that promise?
Thank you very much. I won't say it has not delivered anything, but it has not delivered our expectations as they promised. You realize Uganda's elections have been a repeated cycle of intimidation. Every time we hold elections since the 1995 elections, petitions arise, then courts of law get into that, but then results are always upheld. There is literally no change. So in that, we see we've been having a performance without progress. It's a routine with no reform. So I would literally say the Constitution has not deliberately done what we were promised, because it in the first place lost meaning when they mounted with the age and term limits. Because if you can wake up one day and change anything, so it means people lost trust. That builds mistrust in people, and the promises and fulfillment begins with me. So there is no way you are going to tell me that we have a constitution. It is a written constitution, but implementation is still lacking. However much they have tried to implement some of the things and the democracy stuff, but still, we are still lacking the biggest part of it.
Okay.
So I would say it has not met the promise to our expectations as Ugandans.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Victor,
Yes, please.
does the current electoral framework under the 1995 Constitution safeguard the independence of the Electoral Commission? Context: the president is the appointing person who identifies the chairperson of the EC. So the question is, does the current electoral framework under the 1995 Constitution adequately safeguard the independence of the Electoral Commission?
I may say that it's no, because the 1995 Constitution, by the way, to let you know that in the paper or in the writings, Ugandans will have the best constitution around, or we may say that in Africa we are among the countries with the best constitution. Only that this constitution of ours, it has just been managed by some people. Even in our country, Uganda, we have a managed democracy, where we have some people above the democracy that we need as a country, where we have a chief of state or our president with powers to appoint a chairperson electoral commission, having powers from the 1995 Constitution. And this has almost affected our elections in one way or the other by giving him a chance to be in powers for this long. Because there is no way how you can give me a job, Drake, and I'm your subordinate, and I just get back when I can just talk bad about you. Or if you just feel like you gave me money and I have just failed to repay you back. Whenever you are saying, even if you are saying something wrong, I may say that Drake, you're correct, because I don't want you to just demand that money from me. I may support you in every aspect that even if you're wrong. In this context, I'm trying to say that even if our president loses, I don't think that our electoral commission can declare that Museveni has lost. Because our electoral commission lacks a true independent. It has been governed. It has a boss that governs our electoral commission. And that boss is the one in charge, he's the one in power. So I don't think that our electoral commission one day, one time will just come to say that our president, Museveni, has lost that election. Okay. I don't think so. Thank you.
Interesting. Albert, follow up. Therefore, should the appointment of the electoral commissioners remain a prerogative of the president, or should Uganda explore independent selection mechanisms? Should the president be the one to appoint the chairperson of the EC, or should we have something in place that we have an independent appointing mechanism for the positions in the electoral commission?
According to me, I may say the president should not be the one to appoint the chairman EC. That one should be left with, maybe if to be appointed, maybe if we can allow the MPs or the parliament, maybe to appoint for us the chairman EC. That one can work better.
But I'm aware that most of the members of parliament are
however much, most of no, the parliament, it is very big. We have both the opposition and the supporters.
But you also allude to the fact that we have seen a parliament that has been influenced with money to vote against the age and term limits.
Yeah.
No, the case should not be like that one. We are all talking about the fairness of the elections. If we can have fair elections, maybe let me frame it like that one. If we can have the fair elections, then there we may say the president should not again intervene with the what? With the chairman EC. We can leave that department with the what? With the parliament. That one will happen if we have the fair what? Parliament, not like the one we are having where people are fighting each other.
So how feasible is that?
So there I may say that the president should stop intervening with the what? With the EC programs. And if he is to intervene, should pass through the what? The parliament, as the law should be saying. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. We are going to go for a short break. It's been an interesting half of the show. And personally, I'm intrigued by all your thoughts and submissions. But let's just go for a break, and then come back to talk about, of course, still the credibility of the elections from 1961 to date, but also have a reflection of 30 years of the 1995 Constitution. It's been an interesting half. See you after the break. Douglas Trekonen is my name.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Hello there, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome back again to the second segment of the Inter-University Debates or Interface. And of course, I'm joined by students from Ankole Western University who are, of course, discussing the credibility and fairness of the elections from 1961 to date. But also we are looking at 30 years of the Constitution and giving their opinion in relation to elections. Let's get back to the conversation. We have looked at, one, the historical context, looking at the 1961 elections and how it has influenced our democracy today. We looked at the 1980 elections and the influence it has had on our democracy today. And right now, I just want us to now take the conversation to a more realistic sense and put in the democratic practice we have.
Yes.
And how the historical experiences, though in the first half we touched a little bit on how the history is influencing our democracy today. So allow me start with you, Gloria. The question is Uganda's recurring cycle of contested elections a reflection of weak institutions? Or is it a reflection of political culture from the history that we have discussed?
Thank you very much, Mr. Drake. As I've told you, Uganda's politics, we have a legacy whereby our elections are predictable. You can literally know that this is going to be the result of the election we're going to.
Yeah.
So it has come to a view that people have lost hopes, there is mistrust. So now it is generally something that people no longer care about. They just do it as a practice, but there is no progress. I assure you it has been a routine of something we do. Like we hold the election, yes, but we've seen in every election we hold, irregularities are come up, then the petitions are raised in court, and then they go into all that. At the end of the day, the petition will take almost like 2 years after the election to come to the conclusion. And at the end of it all, results will still be upheld. And more so to that, you realize we've just been having a routine with no reform. That is the same thing that we repeat even after the coming elections, So people have lost trust, people have lost hopes. They've only settled for the less just because at times we are left with no choices. There is a point in life where you are left with no choice. At times the principles of survival leave us with no choices.
Okay.
So this is the state we are living in, whereby the principles of survival in the country are leaving you with no choice. So you deliberately have to go for the practice, you go for the performance of the electoral commission and all that stuff, but there is no progress at all. There is no change. You literally know at the end of the day, even if you elect who, you will all participate, but then you know what is going to come up. You know the person they will declare as the winner of the election at the end of the day. So for that case, therefore, we've lived in that life of let it be, let whatever comes come.
Yeah.
So I think there is literally no hope unless we as the people and together with the government change, because it starts with me, it starts with you. We can change this together and then cooperate with the government, but unless otherwise, there is literally no hope. After all, at the end of the day, we know what is going to come up. Even in the 2026 elections, we already know what is going to come up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kenneth, can an election in Uganda be truly free and fair in the absence of equal access to media, security, and financing?
Thank you. First of all, according to media, an election can't be free and fair when there is absence of media. That's not, it can't happen, okay. But finance, as you see, not a lot of finance is needed for an election to be free and fair. But to the current situations, there have been okay, like elections have been amended in the way like if there is no money, no elections. So in the current situations, I think also finance, if there is no finance, there can't be a free and fair elections according to the people, because someone has already okay, like we are trying to survive because people, like, due to the fact that we are being ruled for this all long time, those who try to oppose are being arrested. Okay, like what my friend said here, that it starts with me. That also doesn't work in the current situations, because whenever it starts with me, they will come for me, they take me, and others will be quiet. Take an example, the people who are held in captives, or held captives.
Political prisoners.
Yeah, political prisoners. Those are the people it started with. They said that it will start with me. After lifting up their voice, they come for you, they take you. So I think in Uganda now, for us to be free and fair, I think it's only one condition. The current government sit down peacefully, hands over, gives a chance to the other willing and capable leaders to have, okay, like to rule also, because we can't go to the judiciary, we can't go to the executive, to the judicial. There is judiciary, executive,
Legislature.
and legislature, and both the judicial and the legislature are under the what? The executive, because the judiciary, the chief justice, I think is being appointed by the president. The legislature, you see, the current speaker is the vice chairperson of NRM. NEC. So there is no way this country will have peace and democracy unless the current government admits that it has done its part. So let's give others an opportunity, because we people here are coming up. We are studying to go in those positions, because those people there are too old. But in their elderly, they can't admit that they are too old to rule. They don't want to leave the seats, so they should know that the current generation, the young generation, also needs to be valued in the politics of the country. We have a lot to do for our country, but right now, even if I have okay, like me myself, I think I have a beautiful mind to lead these people peacefully. But how can I begin when there is that need for the 20 million for the nominations, and also the people they have put okay, like we are in a bad situation whereby even if they give you 5K, I mean the people there down in the villages, even if you give him 5K, he's willing to change to vote for someone else who gives him money. So they don't just look at the minds, they don't see the ideologies I have, they just need money. Even elections now, I don't think they will even help us get a better Uganda, because now elections, if you don't have money, you won't get a vote.
Okay.
So I think it's better we sit down, leave this election saga. They sit down as the current government. They see that the future of Uganda is going to be bright when they give the leadership to the capable and the young generation.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Victor,
Yes, please.
in 2005, we held a referendum and introduced the multi-party dispensation, the first amendment that happened to the Constitution that did away, first of all, with the term limits, and went ahead and introduced a multi-party dispensation from the movement, excuse me, from the movement system. Now my question to you is, and also a question I would push it down to Albert, is, has Uganda's multi-party system since 2005 enhanced or weakened electoral credibility?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Drake. The multi-party system, which was again brought up in 2005, it was a good idea, but I may say that the government which was in power and which is still in power, the NRM, at first, if I'm to take you back, they are the people who refused to bring back this multi-party system. But later they agreed to bring them in 2005. So in this way, these people, they have already prepared themselves. They knew how they were going to just deal with the multi-party system. We saw in that when they were bringing the multi-party system, they amended the constitution, removing the term limits. So in this, I may say that though we have got the multi-party system, which gives more Ugandans the chance to be in the electoral processes, to engage themselves in elections, but we have a country where we know that we have some members, though we have the multi-party system functioning, but I don't believe that this multi-party system, it is the one that is going to save Uganda from this government that we are in, because it has got the strategies, though it has just got the strategies how it will always operate under this multi-party system. For example, we have a case where we had some leaders of a certain multi-parties. Take a look of Norbert Mao, has been appointed by the president, who is leading in the NRM, isn't it? So it shows that some multi-party systems, or though there is some parties which we may say that they brought the multi-party system, but at times this might be a confusion to the Ugandans. They brought up this multi-party system again to just get to use this chance to have their minds going through each and every other day. Because for them, they have their plans. They know that if I bring more than 5 or 7 or 8 multi-party system and you bring them, they will just leave these people, the Ugandans, at times when they are dispersed in this multi-party system, and we know that the majority are in NRM, which is the leading party in our country. Right. And this gives the chance for this country, for the leading government to take a lead from the years that it wants to lead in the country. And I remember, I have already told you that in Uganda, though we have these multi-party system, but the ruling government has powers even to suppress the other parties. Take an example, the government in power has all authority to lead this or to make the underground unfair, for example, by controlling the media. We saw what happened in 2021, where there was internet shutdown in the elections. So this brought up, even if someone won the government that is in power, but there is no way how they could even have the government or these international people, how would they get this information that someone has just won the leading president or the ruling government? So this multi-party system, although it's a good idea to the country, but in Uganda it is not working to its expectation. Since we have the one government system, though there is many parties, but we have a certain party, which is NRM, that is taking a lead and governing for other multi-party systems.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Albert, do you also hold the same view that Uganda's multi-party system since 2005 has weakened electoral credibility, or it has enhanced it?
In fact, to me, I would say it has totally weakened it. Take an example. If you go back to abroad countries, these countries will use normal party system. Take an example. I may give an example of a country like Iceland, where there is no multi-party. People, they hold fully their elections. In fact, it is amongst the people, it is among the countries with a lot of peace. These countries, you go to these countries with one party. You go to Britain, these countries. So they have peace. They are not fighting with each other. But come back to Uganda, where parties are coming up day and night. People are fighting each other. People are dying due to multi-party system. Even when you go into the details, you will find that we shall reach an extent where you find that the leaders of the parties, they will be fighting for those those people who are leading the EC. So it is the multi-party system here in Uganda that is weakening each and everything concerning with politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth, let's now talk about youth and civic participation. And we're talking about the credibility of elections from 1961 to date. And the overall tone in our conversation seems to have a tone of pessimism, loss of hope. So my question to you is, we as young people, have we lost, or do we see, do we believe in elections as a pathway to change, or have we lost faith in the ballot?
I think, first of all, the youth participation in elections isn't that much. Okay, like, we haven't seen many of the youth participate in the elections. Why? Due to the fact that these people see the youth as people causing chaos. Whenever a youth comes up, take an example, I will use Honorable Chagrin Sentam. Whenever a youth comes up, they see confusion, they see chaos, they see riots. Even if he or she is not planning to bring up a riot, but these people, they will just see a youth for such. They will see you for confusion, they will see you for chaos. Even if you go to the villages, okay, like I have a grandma, whenever I tell him about change, she tells me like, you're too young. These people fought for us. That's the ideology they placed, the mindset they placed in those people's minds. But for us, the youth, they tell us, you have not seen anything, whatever, we have peace in this country. Those are things they tell us. That's why you see the youth decided to step back. And some of the youth who are involved in elections have their own intentions, like money. They need money. For example, take an example like the NEC elections, where they were voting for the SEC members. Most of the people who had gone there, most of them were the youth. And the one would tell you that the highest bidder is the one I'm going to do what?
To vote for.
To vote for. So seeing that they don't see anything in elections, they don't see any change, they don't see any good thing in elections. They just need to get money to survive, because this government has made sure that the youth get poorer, because among the rich people in the country, there is no youth.
That's an assumption. We have some rich people in Ham, among others.
Most of them are the old people.
Yeah, but it's true. We don't have very many young people who are wealthy enough.
Yeah, most of them are.
So in your conclusion, do you then therefore say that the young people have lost hope or lost faith in the ballot?
Definitely. We don't see any faith in the ballot. we don't see anything to change. We don't see any transition according to elections as said by the current president Mau of IPOD. Chairman.
Gloria, do you also hold the same view that young people have lost faith in the ballot?
Thank you very much, Mr. Drake. In this case, what matters is not the ballot, but what matters is, does it count? And literally, when you imply that in Uganda's elections, you realize voting is a practice, but the implementation of what should be done to elections is not literally what they follow. You have a right to the ballot, but does it count? It doesn't count. So for that case, therefore, it has come into very many people's minds that the ballot does not change anything. So the youth especially have lost hopes, because after realizing the ballot does not count, then, and every time you realize courts of law come up and tell us, yeah, they have come up with a disease. Yes, you're going to have a disease. Elections are not free enough and they're not credible. But they have not come up with any prescription for the cure. So if you tell us a disease and there is no cure, then I don't expect anyone to get hope. For example, Mr. Drake, if you went to a hospital and they told you, we've discovered you have this, and they don't prescribe for you any cure or medication, do you really gain hopes? I don't think so. So there is literally no hope, because after realizing what has been going on, and then it is a repeated cycle, what happens now is going to happen even in the next elections. So you literally lose hope, because in the time where the youth came up, there is a time when they had to stand for themselves, use media to mobilize fellows for change. You do it today, they come for you.
Okay.
So there is no way you can tell me that next day, if they came for you today, then my neighbor tomorrow will do the same. So if they take me today, the rest, it will silence the rest. In conclusion, the youth have lost hopes in the ballot.
Okay. Victor, I'm going to come to you, Albert, still on the same thing.
Yes.
As a young person, do you have hope in the ballot, or you've also lost faith in the ballot?
Thank you very much, Mr. Drake. I may say that as me as a youth, or any other youth out there, most of us, we have just lost hopes in these ballots, because we have seen these ballots, they don't change anything. For example, I may say that we have just been seeing these petitions in these elections that we have held. In 2021, we had a petition. 2006, we had a petition message. So these ballots at times, they don't count. We have people, as I earlier said, that we have some members, or we have a managed democracy where we still have these people who can decide for themselves. Because I remember even in the past, these post-primaries, I saw some members who take themselves to be the government, bringing some students to vote for them in school uniforms. Remember, in a certain school, you might find that there is a student from Ruwero, another one from Kasese, another one from Rukunjiri, and those students, they are voting for a certain person who is standing for MP or for a member of parliament for a certain region like Masaka. I'm giving it like an example. So in this way of voting, at times we young people, or we youth, we have just lost hope in these ballots, because we have these people who can even bring, by the way, nowadays we have, I may call it the cancer that is eating our politics. Finances, money in elections.
Monetization of politics.
Yes. So these people who are in government, they have made sure that we are poor. And they just release money during the election processes, in the election time.
Yeah.
And to make we use as excited because of money, because we are young, we need money, we need to have money to run our day-to-day life. So in this way, people, or young men and women, they just resort to get money than aiming on what we can just get from voting.
Okay.
So, but before I conclude, I have to call each and every person that we should be political activists. We are the one to change this system. Someone said, there is one person who said that we have no future until we see it in the past. So we are the ones to change. We are the ones to see that we are bringing our Uganda into the right track, because we know that you can fool a person for a while, but you cannot fool a person forever. So I may call this the youth, most especially the youth, because most of these people who are just getting old, and we know that the youth, we are the majority in our country. We need to have hopes. We need to bring back our hopes that we can change everything, isn't it?
Right.
Even through the ballot, if we can just bring that hope back ourselves that we can change, then we can. Thank you.
Albert, similarly, your thoughts on the same?
So to me, on the same issue, I may say that the youth haven't lost hope. That's why previously we are looking, the youth were not majorly involved in what? In elections. But with the current situation, the youth are getting involved. Why? They are seeing the unfairness of the elections, and therefore they are coming with the aim, the issue of saying they are the ones to change the what? The nation. Most of the youth talk about the Katumba Oye, talk about the Chagoranyi, young he is, talk about the most of the young leaders. We have them very many than previously. In 2005, 2000 what? We couldn't see any youth contesting on presidential as a candidate. But currently, we are seeing the young youth.
It's because then the age limit was there. You needed to be between 35 to
And I'm
75.
giving you the youth previously, they could see that the elections were a bit fair. But because now they have come to realize the unfairness, what is taking place on the ground, the youth are not favored anywhere. Talk about the parliament, talk about the what. Therefore, they have come out with the idea of saying, we as the youth, if you are not involved, if we fail to intervene in the what? In the elections, we shall stay behind. And now they have gained hopes. That's why currently we are having very many youth contesting on different posts in the what? In the nation. Take an example of the youth councillors, what? Even on presidential candidate, the presidential post, we had very many youth. Talk about one of our friends from our area was a man called Stuart Natwizuka, a young man, also could contest. So with the youth, there I may say, that's why before I conclude, the youth, even currently, they have put in much effort when it comes to the day for election, for electing a leader. They go there first to choose their own leader. They haven't lost.
Yeah.
When you come here around, when you go to Kampala or when you are around Kampala, if you are see most of the people supporting our opposition leader, a man called Robert Chagulanyi, they are the only youth. So the youth haven't lost hope in ballots, and I think they should stay with that heart, and they should even increase, and they love the country. And that's when we shall change our nation, and that's when we shall have a powerful country.
All right.
Thank you very much.
In 30 seconds, your closing remarks.
With the closing remarks, I will talk about the credibility and unfairness of our elections here in Uganda. Really, I may say that we still undergoing unfair elections. So we need to have a change. And we as the Ugandans, we need to look into that issue, and we have a positive attitude towards our Uganda's democracy and our elections. I remain Tujune Albert, a student from Ankole University pursuing bachelor's degree in education with arts, history, geography as my subject. Thank you very much, my fellow viewers.
Thank you. Victor,
Yes, please.
in 30 seconds, your closing remarks.
Oh, thank you. My closing remarks before I leave this place, I want to first thank the viewers for being with us on this show. And another thing I want to call upon each and every youth, that wherever you are, take a stand. Be on your grounds and believe in yourself that everything can change, anything can change. We are the Uganda. We are the people who can change our Uganda. We have to believe in ourselves. Don't let money control us, because these people, most especially, we have seen these people who are in powers, they have money, isn't it? They can have more money just bring in elections. But I want to bring this to our attention that we should always focus on a leader, not money. As Ugandans, and as young Ugandans, we need to aim at getting a capable leader, not money, because this thing of money will just even spoil our elections or our electoral processes. And we need to always call upon to each and everyone to become a political activist, because I know that it will be one day things will change.
Okay.
I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gloria, 30 seconds, your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drake. My closing remark would be maybe to mobilize people to always stand up for voting, because we're going for the forthcoming elections. And maybe one thing I can tell everyone is that if you allow to sell your vote, then you sold your future. I remain Commission Gloria, a first-year student at Ankole Western University in accounting and finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth, your closing remarks in 30 seconds.
Mine is to call upon fellow Ugandans, let's be patriotic. Also call upon the chairperson, Electoral Commission, understand this is their country and we need a brighter future. So in everything he does, he should consider such. Also, the impossible can be made possible when it's done. And the time is always right to do what is right. I remain Barija Kenneth, a first-year student at Ankole Western University, pursuing Bachelor of Arts with Education, Geography, Entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Albert, Victor, Gloria, and Kenneth, for taking time to join us on this conversation. It has been very lovely having you guys, and for taking the trip all the way from Shema to join us in this conversation.
Before you break, I'm sorry. I didn't mention my names and course. Sorry for that. Victor Namar is my name, a student at Ankole Western University, pursuing Bachelor of Science in Agriculture.
Thank you.
Year 2, semester 1.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all once again. As I was saying, thank you for taking the long trip from Shema to come all down the way at Kampala, but also greetings to the Hope Initiative Club members of Ankole Western University. And as we gear up for the interface debates, I can see you're getting there. The grit is getting together. And I thank you all for the submissions you've made today. Your assessment of the credibility of the 1961 elections to date. It has been interesting. And to you, our dear esteemed viewers, thank you for always religiously following Civic Space TV and for always following the youth conversations on the Inter-University Interface, but also the Youth Roundtable and other shows. Thank you for always following. And to the producers, Malcolm and Brittany, for making this possible, thank you very much. And of course, last but not least, I would like to tell you have a very good week and a blessed Sunday. Otherwise, my name is Douglas Trekonem. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.